Blessed Sunday afternoon, my fellow educators, and to Dr. Nia. Thank you so much for allowing me to have my turn as a reporter via recording video. Since my humble apology because I have to attend personal matters in relation to the preparation of our long travels going back to USA. So thank you so much. I am the partner of Ms. Marites, continuing the report for the transition planning. What are the domains of transition planning, binding document, of our IEP, which commonly known as Individualized Educational Plan, and how is it really important for us special education teachers to really know deeper what are the domains of this transition plan. Okay, so allow me to share screen my window. Okay, here is the much clearer view. Okay, so transition planning for learners with special needs, a bridge to a meaningful adult life. Yes. So these are the domains: collaborative consultation, team members, rules and responsibilities, transition systems, services and supports, the individualized education plan, IEP and its binding document, the ITP or the individualized transition plan. Allow me to share with you first the global and local realities of those students and adult people with disabilities. 80% of adults with disabilities in developing countries are unemployed. Imagine that, according to UNESCO 2022, and how much more nowadays. In the US, only 19.1% of persons with disabilities were employed in 2022, and compared to 63.7% of those without disabilities, according to US Bureau of Labor Statistics of 2023. Much more concerning in the Philippines because 1 out of 10 persons with disabilities are employed in the formal sector. It's not only about a lack of resources, but it's also about lack of preparation. It's not only about academic issues, but we can say that it's a collaborative teamwork and needed for our adult students' life to be more successful, stable, for them to earn a simple living. So, lack of proper transition planning is a key contributor to these gaps in employment and independent living. So, independent living is our key factor, final product of what we call transition planning. It's not only a paper, a document, but it's a kind of result that we are looking forward for the students with disabilities that we had. As SPED teachers like us, it's important to recognize that transitions are key moments in a student's journey, not just changes in grade levels or classrooms, but shifts that can impact their confidence and success. So transition planning, even as adults, we had a lot of word transitions in our lives. But in this report and transition planning, we are zero in with how these students with disabilities working as an individual after school life. How can they be independent with their parents, siblings, and they're in the family circle to earn for a living that they can function like us, normal citizens. When we take the time to understand and guide these transitions well, we help our students feel more secure, capable, and ready for what comes next. It's one of the most meaningful parts of our role. As much as we prepare our regular students in transitioning, going to college after the senior high school years of their lives, we must also have the focus, as we call inclusive education in the Philippines, and even in any parts of the world. Inclusive means everything should be involved. A part of it is the transition planning of how these students with the regular and the mainstream or students with disabilities to be prepared in their adult life. And here is the first domain that we need to tackle. Collaborative consultation, transition planning must be a team effort grounded in respect, communication, and even shared goals. Even with limited resources, strong collaboration can build powerful outcomes. Yes, we tend to always hear that Philippines are having lack of resources because there are something economic issues. We are still developing countries, and that's the reality of it. We keep on comparing it to states to the Philippines, that's it, that's that. But yes, we have the collaboration and consultation we can always make because Filipinos are resourceful, creative, and in every obstacles that we may face through, same as SPED teachers, we are here to give assistance with our students as well. So what are the legal frameworks and DepEd issuances on transition? Legal framework and DepEd issuances on transition planning. So these are the law or the policies that could be a support, the foundation for us as special education teachers in relevance to creating or drafting a transition plan towards the binding document to its IEP. We have this RA 11650 of 2022, Inclusive Education for Learners with Disabilities Act. This mandates IEP with transition goals, requires schools to accept learners with disabilities and create ILRCS. We also have RA 10533, which is basically our K to 12 curriculum, which it has the features of college work readiness for most inclusive learner-centered education. And hopefully, it's not only in the paper itself, but the word inclusive must be integrated, accepted, not only documented, but implemented. We have RA 7277 of 1992, which is a Magna Carta for persons with disabilities, ensures access to education, employment, and services to support lifelong development. It's not only inclusive in the school setup, but also inclusive in the employment and any other agencies, community services that support with our siblings with disabilities. Okay, RA 9442 of 2006, amendment to RA 7277. This is a penalizes discrimination, encourages workplace and social inclusion for PWDs. RA 9155 of 2001, Governance of Basic Education Act, empowers school to respond to learners' local and positional needs through community involvement. And the UNCRPD is not only in the Philippines setup, but it's the United Nations avenue, wherein promotes inclusive education and transition to independent living and employment globally. And of course, our DepEd memorandums as SPED teachers, we are guided all of these memorandums that clarifies implementation of inclusive education, transition services at the school level, support academic recovery and learning access. That was DepEd Order 18, series of 2025, which is a very new one. And we have the strengthening inclusive early registration, ensures early identification and school placement for learners with disabilities. And hopefully it is not only by paper itself, but it could be implemented actually. Because having this early identification upon their enrollment, this sets time for the school to prepare what are the proper accommodations and modifications that they can give towards the learners. I envision that out of limited resources that we can have, there is always being a resourcefulness of a Filipino teachers like us. Accommodations, maybe it needs some amount of budgeting. When it comes to modification, I think it's the resourcefulness, the creativity, the heart of a teacher that can assess, that can modify the instruction of the learners. Maybe for accommodations, we may have limited resources, lack of resources, but through the support of the community, it doesn't really need a high standard of technology, the ACC, the very expensive headphones, whatever things that we need to accommodate our learners. As long as we can, anything that we can achieve, we can give and facilitate as part of the accommodation of our learners. DepEd Order 26, 2022 is a career guidance programs in senior high school. I was once an immersion coordinator during my stay in the DepEd, and I can really say that if you are resourceful, if you put hard on it, you can connect with different agencies within your community. Here in Toledo, I was assigned in Matabang National High School before. It's within the visibility of Balamban and Toledo. So we have a Boites company, we have Global, the electric power company, fertilizer, and some neighboring industries. So as a career guidance program or immersion coordinator at that time, I see to it that I allot some time to go with those industries. And in God's grace, we're able to send our students through their immersion that time, that they were able to have their actual internship before they graduated their senior high school. And some of them got NC2, and it's an inclusive because some of our students with disabilities are able to enjoy whatever skills that they want to apply, nourish those skills within that industry. So after that, some of them are performing well, performing best during their stay, during their immersion days, so that some of them were able to get a continued job after the senior high school. So it's a blessing for us teachers also to take time to give passion on it, to connect with our community, the neighboring industries, so that our students can have their career if they will not pursue to college degrees. And so much more with our debit order from 2021 down to 2009. So work immersion, IEP guidelines, and inclusive education strategy. And I really hope that as much as we implement LIS, the Learning Information System, in the Department of Education, we also have LMS. I hope we can also create a specific website that also caters the documentation of the learning progress of the special education students so that it's also documented and all of these laws we can see that it's properly progressing and monitoring. Okay, so we have collaborative consultation and the making of transition plan. The IEP is not a static, but it's a continuously active kind of document. After the read or the re-evaluation, there should be a evaluation ongoing, and then the MET, which is the proper implementation of that IEP, and it expires every year. So there should be annual IEP, and after the 3 years from its first implementation, it expires again, and re-evaluation will take over again, even on that certain span of time. So timeline, collaborative consultation is a must for transition planning. So in US, some of the states are at the age of 14, they will start crafting their transition planning, but based on the IDEA or IDAA law, it's on the 16 years old of the student, especially if student is from middle school, then the student will transition from middle school to high school. And that time, it is a must for a special education teacher. The caseload manager will starting to draft on that idea of that transition plan. Okay, so as we compare Philippines and United States, the setting, public and private schools under DepEd or private institutions, as even private institutions still under in a DepEd. So in the United States, public charter schools district governed by IDEA, Individualized with Disabilities Education Act, and private schools are still but not fully covered by IDEA. So they have their own system, they have their own services, but the need still of making an IEP and follow its timelines is a must for private schools. So currently I am teaching in a charter public schools. And then for IEP process, IEPs are implemented but may vary in formality and compliance across schools. And legally mandated IEP with defined timelines, team members, and documentation. Same composition, SPED teacher, general education teacher, parent, possibly therapist. So SPED teacher, general education teacher, parent, student, age 14 plus can attend the IEP meeting. And then related services providers, OT, speech, PT, social worker, district representatives in person of the principal and assistant principal. So, and in our home country, Philippines, service providers like therapists, OT, speech, the psychologists, the psychiatrists, the developmental pediatricians are usually external partners of our Department of Education. But in United States, most of them, especially the social worker, the speech, the OT, the PT, they are working within that school setting. Okay, so services are available every day. So hopefully, may tabo po na sa tuwa, especially OT, speech, naman tayo daghang supply of that professionals. Sad to say, they are ignite to go to international setting, go abroad, because these kind of professions will give them a lot of advantages, especially to salary or financial aspects, and of course professional growth as well. So muna see. And then consultation practices, informal meetings, coordination via notebooks or parent chats. But in United States, they have formal IEP meetings. It go through a lot of process. And the special ed teacher and the case manager, you are the one who drafted one. And drafting your IEP, you have to connect, you have to plan with the service providers as well. You have to ask for them what their inputs, and what are the progress, and what are the needed changes for accommodations or modifications, or if there's no changes, whatever things that you need to add in the accommodations or modifications. And of course, parental involvement, parent-teacher conferences, school-initiated meetings. So parents are legal members of the IT team, required to be part of all the decisions. So you cannot hold IEP meeting without the parents because um, it should be, and they are the number one reason why that IEP meeting was conducted. It should be signed, and we also have this procedural safeguards that we call document that we give to the parent before we start the meeting, ensuring that they know their rights, legalities as a parent whose child receiving special education services, if not SPED, if the child is also receiving 504 plans on that certain meetings. So legalities are always everywhere and implemented and in every scenario, either Philippines or United States. But I hope wala siya. Di ba na. So, transition plan, post-secondary transition plan, summary of performance. Student invite should be 16 years old and above, but some state, they will start 14 years old. In Michigan, we are starting at the age of 15. If a child reach 15, then we need to start crafting the transition plan. And then we have transition assessment. It will be formal through interview of the child, through interview with the parent, informal also. And we also use some tools like Esther tools, Zello, Movie Maps, a standardized tool nga gipalit yun sa mong swinahan just to see to it that whatever comes out with the assessment, reliable assessments. And then measurable post-secondary goals, education, training, employment, independent living, annual goal, of course, outside agency collaboration, because we know that it's already a transition plan. Transition services, activities, course of study, if a student wants to pursue for a college degree or diploma. But again, not all special education students within their IEP has the goal to reach diploma. Some of them will receive certificate of learning, especially those with students with cognitively impaired, learning disability, can be like specific learning disability like math calculation and reading. Most of them can have diploma. But as a caseload manager, you are very much powerful. Ikay magbuot if ang student mo proceed ba og college or ang student mo proceed lang siya o vocational courses. Yan na dito nakabutang if a student will receive certificate of learning or proceed to diploma. Okay? Then these are the process of making the transition plan. Identify the student's breadth, interests, and needs, and then schedule transition planning, meeting with all key stakeholders. You as a SPED teacher, you are the one to schedule, set time, be cautious of the timeline of your IEP, especially a need that IEP should not be expired before you conduct another IEP. Okay, should not be expired before you conduct another IEP. And then define measurable post-secondary goals. If a while ago I told you, if it's the goal is to pursue diploma for college degrees or just certificate and official vocational trainings or courses. Time rules and responsibilities, link with external agencies or community support, monitor, evaluate, and adjust a plan. As a teacher, within your school setting, we also have this career coordinators. You have to tie up, you have to collaborate with a certain individual for you to know what are the possible external agencies or community support, especially as new and US standard. And of course, you're always be monitoring, evaluate, and adjust the plan if necessary. Okay? We are in 2.3.3 team members' rules and responsibilities. So, special education teacher leads IEP and transition planning. So, as a special education teacher, for sure na diri mo kauban nga nag-work na sa US, and they really know how challenging it is to lead a meeting. It's a long table meeting. You are in the middle, and then you have the parent, you have, if ever the student has physical impairment, you have the specific physical therapist, you have your OT, you have your social worker, and some behavioral issues ongoing, You have your district representative, it's your principal or assistant principal, and sometimes your district coordinators will also convene along the meeting, and maybe more or less 5 to 10 people within the long table, which is during the IEP, if that IEP is a math meeting or the eligibility meeting. So in every angle, in every domain, you must know better the background of the students, the ongoing challenges, strengths, weaknesses, and everything on that document of the psychological evaluation and other service providers gave to the students. So special ed teacher, you are the lead of that. That's why you are called caseload manager. And then general education teacher, you cannot handle a IEP meeting without our gen ed teacher because they are the one who provides insight on academic performance. They are the one who suggests accommodations and supports in general education and participates in co-teaching or inclusive support. So, kinahanglan jud na sa SPED and gen ed teacher is very close to each other. You build rapport, you coordinate, you must convene every other week with lists of your special education students or exceptional learners. What are the needed modification or accommodations? Is it a need for change or to add? Okay. And related services providers, OT, PPSLP, delivers therapy or services tied to students' goals, help build skills or for independent living and employment. So again, not all SPED students or exceptional students are having OT. If they are SLD or specific learning disability, they don't need that. Physical therapists, they don't need that if they are SLD. And SLP or speech, some of them are having first eligibility and second eligibility. That somehow requires them to attend speech services. But it should be under the eligibility criteria during the IEP meeting. And then parent guardian shares the student's strengths, challenges, and future goals, participates in decision about services and support. So of course, these are the rules and responsibilities, and each member has a very crucial and vital role in the progress and monitoring progress report and how can we adjust every year the accommodations and modifications, as well as the short-term goals, the short-term objectives, the long-term objectives of that IEP. Okay, and of course, the students are invited once they reach 14 years old, so that they may know also what are the needed in the strength. Students are very happy if you really raising all of their strength, especially their parents are listening, the principals and the principals always focus on the positive note of the students. If we raise something negative, always make sure you construct it. You construct it properly in a sense that it will not hurt them personally, especially the parents as well. Transition coordinator, especially if transition planning, and the community agency representatives, of course, if we're able to have some community linkages as the representative of that meeting. District or LEA representative ensures compliance with IDEA and district policies, has authority to commit resources and approve services. So what is it a need that a principal or assistant principal or the admin will attend your meeting during your IEP with a binding document decision plan because they are the one who approves the budget. And then US standard SPED department has the biggest amount of budget. So that's why most of the SPED teachers has a high raise compared to the other subjects. I'm not saying everything in general, but this is what I learned. The SPED has the highest budget, but it was changed a few. The budget was low down because of some situations happening currently in the United States, like cutting the federal budgets. Okay, so effective transition planning depends on clear communication and shared responsibility of team members. So the SPED teachers, especially if you want to apply in USA, you cannot just sit down in your table, just be introvert all the time. You just have to connect with your students, you all the time. It's a collaborative responsibilities, work as a team. You have to build rapport with all of these individuals. Okay, and we are in the last part, 2.3.4, transition systems, services, and support. Okay, so a while ago, I shared with you that we are experiencing a lot of transitions in our lives, especially in our exceptional learners or in special education field, into the school, transition between grades, from elementary to secondary school, secondary to post-secondary, and so on. But we are focusing on transition from schooling to employment preparedness. Okay. Then transition systems, the people and agencies working together to support the students' future. So in real life example, here in the Philippines, the school team, parents, social worker from this WD need to plan how to help the students find a job and access adult services after graduation. So as a community linkages, as agency linkages, every department in the Philippines should be linked through special education and Department of Education. Decision services, classes, and activities that help the students prepare adult life that joins a fabricational class twice a week to practice real tasks like sorting materials, locking in and out, and following work routines a simple way that could be integrated across all learning areas or disciplines. Not only because you're teaching English, then you cannot integrate life skills. It should be integrated in all subjects. Transition support tools and help that make it easier for students to succeed. The students uses a, for example, picture exchange communication system or PICS, especially for students who has autism. They really need some visual cues for them to remember and what to expect in the next scenario things to be happening. Okay, really know already what's an IAP means. So I will give you a sample ITP, which the one that I made just this year. So first, let's see to it first. What is the navigating the IEP process? So it starts with the free referral. Of course, anyone can refer to students to be part of the special ed. It could be the teacher, the subject teacher, the parent, the admin, and then the referral, and then informed consent by the read or the reevaluation form, and then IEP meeting, and then evaluation of the experts in the medical field, and then attend IEP. We will be evaluated, implement the plan, and attend the annual review meetings. Now, the question is, where we can see the transition plan. Transition plan is within the process of the making, and then it should always be could be part in the annual review meetings. Okay, so this is a sample decision plan that I made that was just this January. My student, which is has a specific learning disability. The tools that we use as for the assessment is the Esther 3 and girls Severstorm transition writing skills, transition assessment for learners with mild disabilities. So SLD, specific learning disability, with has disability with learning towards math and reading. These are the assessment that we use. And then we get the students' insights. And then we also interview the parents, what are the strengths and weaknesses of the student. And then, of course, the gen ed teacher, the subject teachers, and we as well, special education teachers. At the end of the assessment, we have this scores we're in. The student scored, he shows strong potential in home living, 80%, and post-secondary education, 75%, with solid community participation, 71%, while his scores in employment is 66.67%. And for recreation and leisure, 54.16%. Therefore, the student, because home living independently has 80%, and he has a score of post-secondary education 75%, therefore he is eligible to have diploma or to proceed college degrees. Okay, and then aside from that, we use Zello. Zello is a reliable tool for Abraham to explore his career interests and strengths. So Zello is a kind of website. There's a course program that the student will answer with your assistance to make sure that they are not rushing through with their answering on that side. So his personality style is more an organizer, conventional, persuader, thinker, helper, and social. So Abraham education goals includes more school or training, science, technology, engineering, and math. And then favorite career could be assessed technology, engineering, math education, training arts, AV technology, and communication, or health science. So Abraham top 5 career matches are all related to law, public safety, corrections and security, health and science and education. So how did we know it? It's through the course program of that Cello website. The teacher has the account and the student has account as well. And it's a systematically generated after you answer all the interests, the like and dislike of the student. Okay, so you have to put your date, and then if student did not attend IEP, describe, but the student attended personally together with his mom. Students post-secondary vision and transition. These are, as you can see it, we have this domain, post-secondary education training and post-education training assessment result. Okay, and adult living assessment results. And if is there a need for activities, services, adult living, it could be instruction, independent living skills. These are the trainings that he needs to attend the services that could the community can cater, especially self advocacy, because some of our students and exceptional students are has a weaker self confidence to show up, to share what are your feelings, thoughts, and the rights as well. Okay, so we have this community participation for adult livings, and then responsible agency or person. We have to put that one, and then as you can see, check only one, Michigan Merit Curriculum leading to high school diploma. Ako na siyang gichikan niya. And then course of study leading to certificate of condition, wala. Because student, although he has SLD, he is capable, he is excellent, he is smart, he is good, and he can achieve college diploma. As a SPED teacher, a caseload manager, I am the one who decides. So your role is very crucial for that role. Okay, so is Abraham expected to graduate with regular diploma? Yes. Will Abraham complete age eligibility for special education services? Yes. And anticipated graduation after his senior high school is 2020. So you are the one who envisioned that. So these are just a sample of what we had seen through the transition plan, and we are almost done. Okay, assessment tools. And number two, students post-secondary vision, career employment, goals and services, post-secondary education training. These are all the results of Abraham. Okay, not one. Okay, that I shared you about. Okay, so before I give my references, I have to let you see an actual IEP and then where that ITP located and what it looks like with if it's already documented. Okay, this one. Okay. So this is the IEP. It starts with student strength. What is its eligibility? We have different assessment that caters a standardized assessment to know what are the lexile, frontal, reading ability, and mathematical ability of the student. That one. And then what are his speech percentile? These are. And then this is a 27 pages IEP. This is an annual IEP. This is not a MET. This is an annual IEP. Annual means you just have to revisit all the accommodations and modifications as well as the objectives and the goals as well. So this is his eligibility, specific learning disability, his qualifying criteria as written expression, reading comprehension, mathematics problem solving, and mathematics calculation. So these are the four QC that I am working on with him. Okay, and as you can see in the page number, I think 6, this is where we can find the transition consideration, assessments, that one. Actually, this is just a 2 pages, but it's very tiny print. So, but it takes a lot of preparation to do this because the data is not only created personally, but it's a collaborative insights and thoughts from the parents, service providers, student teachers, students as well, and the admin. Okay, and everything. Okay, so my apology if my recording is very long. I did not anticipate that that's how really long it is. Okay. These are all my references. And let me end my report with if you can make the difference in the life of one child, it is all worth it, especially as STEM teachers. Thank you so much for your time and opportunity. God bless us all.